I see you got the fade working.
Yep. So welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. We've got another big show in store for everybody here tonight. And I just want to mention I did put something out into the chat room for those of you that are tuning in. Take a look at that and respond if you will, so we can get an idea of what your thoughts are about this weekend. This weekend across NASCAR wasn't just busy, Jay. It was defining. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series hit the streets of St. Petersburg for the first time ever. Layne Riggs didn't just win, he shifted momentum. And then at Circuit of the Americas, the road course conversation continued because when the pressure was on, the O'Reilly Series, Shane Van Gisbergen reminded everybody exactly who he is. And out west, a statement drive in the ARCA Menards Series West that could shake up the early championship picture out there. And then the headline, the NASCAR Cup Series delivered something we don't see very often, and that's called history. Courtesy of Tyler Reddick in the start of a very dominant season so far. Is the balance of power shifting already, or what's going on? And who left the weekend with a real momentum? This is Hot Topic Sound Off, and let's get into it, Jay.
All right, let me check and see if All Sports All Day is dancing with me. I see he's got a thumbs up. He's here. I know that.
Oh, he gave a thumbs up to the question. It says, is Tyler Reddick already the championship favorite after this start?
Oh, okay. I get it. I see he was answering the question.
Like the comment if you think yes and reply not so fast if it's too early to say. So are you dancing All Sports All Day?
Yeah.
Jay wants to know.
I need somebody to dance with me now.
I think he likes that music that we have.
It is. It's great. So many things throughout the weekend. You talk about history. First in the Truck Series, their first street course at St. Petersburg. I view as a success. Kind of surprising. And I think some of the broadcasters even said it, thought maybe it would be a little bit more of a wreck fest, but professional drivers, if you will. So that went off. And then we knew history was going to be made with with COTA, or the possibility of it, I guess I should say, one way or another, because SVG actually, his historic streak and tied with Jeff Gordon came to an end, but Tyler Reddick set his own with the first time ever 3 to start a season. And then you got Mason Massey, you mentioned, out in the ARCA West Series, first win. So yeah, great racing, great storylines, great weekend.
Not just the first win, Jay. First start, first win.
In his first start.
Yeah, he's got 90-some NASCAR starts, and yet first start in the ARCA West, and he goes out and wins it. So that was pretty cool to see. But let's get started with Layne Riggs and his breakthrough on the street course, the first ever street course race for the NASCAR Truck Series. Layne Riggs scored a major road course win. He'd never won on a road course before, so he was pretty excited that he can now call himself a road course racer. He held off some hard-charging packs to take that checkered flag in the Truck Series, the first street race there. Yeah, it was fun, All Sports All Day. He says, my opinion on Cup Series, 8 out of 10. Truck Series, 8 out of 10. O'Reilly, 6 out of 10. And the West Series, 7 out of 10. I like those odds. That was pretty good. All Sports All Day. But he actually started in 28th place on a street course and was able to get up to the front. He worked his way forward. He led a race high 41 laps and managed fuel at the end, and then punched his ticket to victory with that final run. Riggs also claimed his first win of the season and the first on a road street course, boosting his profile for the season. So what are your thoughts there about Layne Riggs?
Well, we knew what kind of a driver he was. Like I said, we talked about, he really is the one that attempted to go toe-to-toe with Corey Heim last year, even on the road courses. What was more impressive was where he started and came through the field
He was
relatively
very
cleanly.
impressive.
Right. Like I said, relatively clean. Not saying he didn't touch nobody or anything, but I don't feel he ran anybody over. I mean, he
No.
really did have a good truck and worked his way through. And, I didn't know he didn't have the road course win yet on his resume. Like I said, Corey Heim kind of took that away from him by his dominance. So you don't really get to see anything under that kind of overshadowing. So I think, again, I said this at the beginning of the year, we're going to see some other drivers that are going to get to shine. When I look at Layne Riggs, I look at 2 years ago when he hadn't gotten a win, didn't make the driver cut line for the playoffs at that time, but yet came out and was mixing it up with them winning races, even though he wasn't in the playoffs. That's what told me. And then he delivered last year, getting wins, contending, going head to head with Corey Heim. I really think this is kind of his year. Started in the hole, and you talked about that shift of momentum. He kind of started in the hole, and we'll see what a win like this can do for momentum and then climbing out of that hole.
Yes, I agree with all that you said there. And it really was kind of cool to see him win on that road course. He was very, very excited about it. And he had some tough competition. There are a couple drivers. ThorSport Racing looked really good at this street course race. Ty Majeski and Ben Rhodes put up some tough fights late, charging through the field to finish second and third. And Ford-powered trucks swept the top 4 finishing spots, underscoring strong manufacturer performance as well in the Truck Series on a very tricky street layout. So nobody knew what to expect this weekend, but they put on a great show.
And this is one where, if you're a casual fan, you're looking at who won, top 5, whatever, okay, and those are good storylines. But if you watch the race, I thought there was a lot of strong performances, if you will, Ben Rhodes being one of them. Again, dominated that first part of the race while Layne Riggs was working his way to get there. Came away with a decent finish, but I felt like for the second or third race, he's really been the story of most consistent. And we'll talk about that when we look at the points. But also you had some of the IndyCar crossovers and all-stars.
Yes.
Dario Franchitti ended up with a top, what was he, 6, I believe?
No, he didn't finish. He finished back because he had to pit at the end, and it caused him to finish a little bit further back.
Okay.
But Hinchcliffe rallied to a top 10 finish.
No, I think you got those backwards. Hinchcliffe was the one that really had a problem. And I'm trying to get my pages loaded. My computer dumped on me right before we came on.
I don't know. That's not the way I recall it. I recall Dario Franchitti did run up in the top 10 for most of the race. But at the end of the race, he fell back. And so that's what caused him to not have as good a finish as where he typically runs. Let me look at the race results here. I'll tell you the top 10. Layne Riggs, Ty Majeski, Ben Rhodes, Chandler Smith, Caden Honeycutt, Landon Lewis, Andreas Perez de Lara, Daniel Hemrick, Colin Braun. James Hinchcliffe was actually 10th, and then Dario Franchitti ended up finishing in 27th.
Okay, I didn't realize Hinchcliffe had come that far up. I apologize. I knew he had worked his way back, but I didn't realize it was that far. And I guess I must have missed Dario having to go all the way to the back with that pit stop. I thought he had come back. But you mentioned Colin Braun, another one. What's it been? How many years since he's been in the Truck Series? Got that all-star start for Ram. Again, they're slowly creeping their way in the top 10, having solid runs. That all-star truck, again, I kind of have mixed feelings on it. And I'm not inside the team. So if they say it's helping, by all means, continue it. It's definitely interesting. Some of the names we're getting to see, I certainly do enjoy that. I just don't know if that's hurting or helping the program. And I'm going to talk more about that when we get to the Cup Series, but the tie-in. but again, good solid runs. Were they up front leading laps and winning stages in the win? No, but they had very solid, good performances.
I think it is good to have them in the races. I know it's an entirely different type of car than what they're used to running with IndyCar or IMSA cars in the case of Colin Braun. But I think that they can give us really good feedback. And, imagine how exciting it is for a guy like Layne Riggs to come out and beat somebody like James Hinchcliffe, Dario Franchitti. Jimmy Johnson was on the pit box for Dario Franchitti. I thought that was really cool. Him and Tony Kanaan were sitting up in the pit box having a really good time up there. So I thought it was all very, very good. I thought the scenery was great right there in the marina where you see the water and the boats, and I probably shouldn't call them boats. What are they called?
Yachts. Yeah, they're yachts.
Yachts or whatever. I thought it was very exciting to watch all of that. And I think they can give us really good feedback. Plus, it's a good crossover. People who are IndyCar fans or IMSA fans, they're coming over to watch the NASCAR truck race. So it really puts a really big highlight, I think, on the Truck Series race as well, which is always a positive thing. And I wish they'd talk to Jimmy Johnson a little bit more about why he decided to do this and everything. First year back in NASCAR, an extra truck can't hurt.
Well, and yeah, don't misunderstand me. I was saying from the Dodge coming back and being a full-time team where they're focused full-time on the team. That one, their intent is still obviously to run good. The way they're going about it, and specifically this weekend with the IMSA and the IndyCar crossover, absolutely agree with you, Sharon. All of that is really good things and brought a lot of attention, a lot of different interaction. And we talked about that of what was going to prevail, the truck experience or the course experience, which came from different series. And even your crossover drivers said, yeah, I think they got a little bit of an advantage, even though they didn't get any practice time due to rain. They said, I think once we settle in, and they did, you saw it, the NASCAR Truck Series drivers did prevail, but I felt like there was a very good showing from the IndyCar or other stars. Maybe even a little bit better than I expected, honestly. Again, Dario didn't quite get the result, but certainly he was there, like you mentioned, the running top 10 most of the race.
Yeah, yes, he was. And Colin Braun and James Hinchcliffe actually raced their way to get to the top 10. So I was kind of impressed with that. I thought it was really great. Now, Ben Rhodes, he actually won that first stage, showcasing early speed and strategy before the final stretch. I think fuel became an issue for that team once again. I was disappointed with that. They had a fuel issue before. They had another fuel issue this time. So they really need to take a look at that, I think.
Well, and I don't know, because he did plenty of burnout and got to victory lane and all, but you saw at the end of the race, Layne Riggs was actually shaking his truck. There were several that ended up tight on that. You know, that's one of those of a strategy just played out that way. But thinking back, even Layne Riggs, like I said, I was surprised he did the burnout he did and everything else, because he was shaking his truck in those final laps, trying to make sure he kept it going.
True. And Nice Motorsports, let's talk about them. They had a strong collective result as well. Several drivers from the team posted solid runs, including a noteworthy performance from Landon Lewis and others handling adversity, because it was a very aggressive race, I think, throughout the field.
It is, and Nice Motorsports is one of those that I think kind of gets overlooked in the truck series, because a lot of times they have part-time drivers. That's where Ross Chastain, when he comes back, he gets starts in the Nice Motorsports. And so we never get to see the full fruits. I don't know if they have anybody running full time this year, but just overall as an organization, they definitely deliver top-notch finishes. Again, are they getting the wins? Well, when Ross Chastain shows up, maybe. But I think as an organization, they are a very solid Truck Series team that gets, again, I use the word overlooked because they're never in the point standings because they don't have any full-time drivers.
Right. Well, Andres Perez in the 44 finished 7th. Landon Lewis had a 6th place finish in the 45. And then Tyler Reif, is that in East Motorsports? He's in the 42. He had a 16th place finish, and he ended up going to the hospital afterwards.
Oh, okay. There was one in the trucks. I didn't remember there being one from the trucks, but I know that was a big factor. We'll kind of tie that one in at the end of the Cup Series. Was a hot one. I know they were talking about that. Dario was talking about it. He had a shoulder issue from a previous baseball thing he was dealing with. All right, what's All Sports All Day say there?
He says, does Landon Lewis have road course history? He raced the late models last year. I wasn't expecting him to be so good. I agree, All Sports All Day. Let me check. I'm not sure he does have.
I believe he does, whether it's through the IMSA, because I think some of his stats, the Porsches in like the 24 Hours of Daytona GT class, I think, is where his experience comes in, if I recall correctly.
Okay. The part-time Chevrolet Nice Motorsports is proven.
Now this year,
dirt modifieds, legend cars is what I'm seeing here for him.
Talking about that then and I forgot that Perez had moved over there. I believe that should be a full-time effort. And right now he is 7th in points. So I look forward to that. I think with them having a full-time driver then that Andres Perez de Lara should put in a good showing for him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great year for Nice Motorsports. And they're showing it already when you look at the results even from this weekend. So anyway, I wanted to highlight them because I thought they had, it says without even winning, it was a big theme for this season so far. They seem to have some momentum going for them. And then championship implications. You know, Chandler Smith is at the top of the points. Do you want to cover the points real quick, Jay?
All right. You got Chandler Smith, again, with the win at Daytona and picked up a stage win, is up by 34 points over Ben Rhodes. Like I said, Ben Rhodes does have a stage win, which he got this weekend, but has been a dominant truck in, I think, all of the races. Then you got Ty Majeski, Gio Ruggiero, who we expected to be contenders. Layne Riggs up to 5th with his victory and a stage win, and he's 56 points back. That's your top 5. Then you got Caden Honeycutt. Again, another one what we saw last year, what he did in 3 different trucks, one full-time ride, and it's a defending championship truck. Fully expected him to be there. Then you got Andres Perez de Lara, again with Nice Motorsports. Stuart Friesen, again, he was in contention, would have been in the playoffs had he had been able to finish the season. Christian Eckes and Justin Haley. And that Haley being in the Dodge Ram, good to see him in the top 10. Brendan Queen, the rookie, right behind him in 11th. Now, we'll see how that shakes out. Again, we're only 3 races in, but you kind of see it already starting to separate. What we got to wait and see is some of these drivers that maybe had 1 or 2 bad starts. Daniel Hemrick still down in 19th in points. Fully expect him to climb his way up. Grant Enfinger is actually 23rd. Not the start to the season we want to see from Grant Enfinger by any means.
Well, I was going to ask you that next. Is what are the biggest surprises you think in the points right now?
I mean, yeah, Grant being that far down certainly is. But again, you got 2 super speedway style races that can create that. Grant isn't necessarily known as a road course racer, a strong road course racer anyway. Again, he is a very solid driver. So again, if he's got a 15th place truck, he's going to get 15th with it, or maybe up to 10th, not over push it, which it's not as prevalent, I don't think, here in the Truck Series. When we get to the Cup Series, we'll talk about that. With this new chase format, regular season gets you in, and then the playoffs, these solid top 5 drivers week in and week out are going to shine. I just think we got to get a little bit further into the season, and we'll see Grant Enfinger climb his way back up. Daniel Hamrick, another one. But I do think we see, like I said, the contenders we have up front already have managed to put together good races, even with maybe not the best finishes they could have had. When you talk about Ben Rhodes running out of gas, falling back a little bit, having a dominant truck but not winning. So I am super pumped about the entire season here for the Truck Series. And like I said, I think last year it was everybody kind of got looked over, that number 11 from Tricon Garage and Corey Heim, with how dominant a season he had. I think we're going to see some real good close competition throughout the year.
Yeah, I think you're right. All Sports All Day says Grant and Daniel just subject to circumstances, but I did not expect to see Perez to be in 7th. Yeah, I'm super excited for Andreas Perez de Laura. We've had him on the show, and he is such a super nice guy, and I'm really glad to see him finally seeing some results for all the efforts that he's put in, because I know he's worked really, really hard. And I've got a fellow Grant fan. Love Grant. Hope he rebounds well.
Okay, I don't know who's not a Grant Enfinger fan, but I think the deal with Perez again, and that goes back to Nice Motorsports actually having a full-time driver to run for the championship with a little bit of experience as well. So it's a little bit of a surprise, but I wouldn't say is a shocker to see that. Hopefully that can continue throughout the season.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about the Truck Series, and one of the things that I do like about it, wait a second, let me mention this. All Sports All Day says, I met Grant last year. He's just such a nice guy and so fun to talk to. He really is. He's very down to earth, never turns down an interview when we've asked for one. He is just very, very a nice man. I agree with you, All Sports All Day.
And that's what one of the interviews I did with him, like you mentioned, Sharon, he's always willing to talk, was actually at the Mississippi Race Extravaganza in Jackson, Mississippi. He was there to support, and the name, I'm drawing a blank, I can't think of the name, but it was another driver that was being promoted and had his car there. Grant was there just in support. So I got to interview them both, and it was really great. And you're right, he is always so down to earth, whether you're on camera or not. I mean, he will talk to you, and is just an absolute great guy.
He really is. Now, let me ask you, did you see anything that you felt was a low for the race at St. Petersburg? We talked about some of the highs. What are some of the lows?
I really didn't. Like I said, talk about a little bit of a shock. I really expected to see a little bit more carnage as far as the trucks being on a street course for the first time. So that was a pleasant surprise. It wasn't a low. Yes, we still had some incidences. Most of them were single car, and again, not a lot of outright destruction or running anybody over. So I really didn't see any that I would say is a negative.
Well, All Sports All Day says Derek White. He did have kind of a rough day. I think his truck got tore up pretty early. So it is unfortunate. But, you know, he was back, and it was good to see him back, but he didn't get to stay in it for very long.
I would have to, now that I think about it just a little bit, the fact that they didn't get practice, they got rained out practice and qualifying. Again, that actually, I think, provides some excitement, if you will. So is that a bad thing? I would have liked to have seen maybe them get the practice in and see how much more good racing we could have saw with that. Because I still thought we got great racing, by all means. So
Yeah, I agree. I thought we got some really good racing. All Sports All Day says, I thought Christian Eckes maybe had a bad race. He got in, I think, two incidents that I chalk up to as his fault. Numbing Gray. They were racing pretty tough, pretty hard throughout that race. Christian Eckes is more of a short track racer, I think, than he is a road course racer. But yeah, they were bumping each other.
I wondered what numbing gray meant, but
bumping. Yeah, it said numbing gray. I thought he meant like kind of paralyzing him or something. But yeah, there was some tough racing throughout that field, and I enjoyed watching all of it.
I don't see that as a low. Like I said, I don't know that any of it was of an outright over the limits destruction type. Again, it is a tight course. We expect, like I said, I really actually expected more of it, maybe a little bit more pushing and shoving and multi-car pileups. I know we saw the one where somebody got blocked, and I think that was the one where, Eckes had come in and hit him after you. But again, you got nowhere to go. You either hit the guy in front of you, or you turn right and hit the guy alongside you, or possibly hit the wall.
Hits you.
Right there, there you go. You slow up, and the guy behind you hits you. So I certainly above my expectations. I will say that it was well above my expectations.
Okay, All Sports All Day gave us a 7 out of. What was it? 7 out of 10. He says, not a low light, just an observation. I thought the truckers did a great job. I thought they did a great job too. And I was just getting ready to say that, All Sports All Day. I think that the Truck Series has been much worse as far as being aggressive and being wild on the track. We've seen some really wild racing in the Truck Series. I think these guys are controlled chaos, if you will. They seem to be a little bit more in control of the situation. There are moments, like you mentioned, with Christian Eckes or whatever. But I do think that they've gotten better. So what number did you give it, Jay?
I would have to say they're All Sports All Day said 8 out of 10, 8 or 9. And like I said, it definitely exceeded all my expectations. So definitely ranks up there on the higher end.
I'll go in between you guys. I'll say 8.5. I thought it was a lot of fun to watch. I really enjoyed watching the street race at St. Petersburg. And, let's give kudos to NASCAR, too, for putting that together. I know St. Petersburg is known for the street course racing there with the IndyCar Series. We've not had any street course races ever with the Truck Series. So this was another one of the out-of-the-box thinking kind of ideas that NASCAR's come up with that turns out, I thought, really, really well. So I want to give NASCAR a little bit of kudos in all of this as well.
And you mentioned it of the truck drivers, the Truck Series as a whole delivering. Yes. As you said, we've had some rough starts to seasons, and NASCAR actually had to step in and say, settle down, boys, drivers. Being that it was the first, they showed it can be done and done in a good fashion. I think well represented, and may see more of it in the future, which I'm excited about.
So I guess we'd all say that St. Petersburg delivered. It was exciting, also a historic first. I've said statement weekend for our show tonight. We had history making happening across the series, and it was a breakthrough win for Layne Riggs. Strong competition from veterans and crossover drivers alike. There were a lot of team narratives that we could talk about in that race. Even mid-race toughness and tests, thanks to the heat and physical demands on the drivers. It was physically demanding. This was the first really hot race that they had to race so far this season, I'd say.
And I think it was from the Truck Series that they mentioned it was like 180 degrees inside the cockpit. So, you're right. That definitely, again, shows the testament to the drivers. I know from the Truck Series, you said we had one that had some issues. There were, I think, 3, 4, maybe even 5 on the Cup side.
Yeah, there were quite a few people struggling with that, and we'll talk more about that when we get to the Cup Series. But we're moving on now to the O'Reilly Series, unless you've got something more that you want to say.
No, got to give those thumbs up, both of them.
Before I go, let me just ask you, do you think Layne Riggs just flipped the early Truck Series narrative? Because we had, go ahead.
Yeah, well, a little bit. I mean, it's one of those of obviously Chandler Smith come out strong. Layne Riggs didn't have the bestest starts, and I mentioned he's fifth in points. I don't know that it's flipping it of just they had one bad race. So, because I kind of expect him to be up there. I am, like I said, looking forward to it. You know, if you recall last year already, I said Chandler Smith coming back to the trucks, I thought was his year already last year. Still feel he's going to be a contender, but Layne Riggs is a contender. Caden Honeycutt is a contender. So I think we're looking at a good championship chase, honestly.
I think
Gio Ruggiero right up in there, and we'll have those maybe surprises like Andres Perez de Lara if he can stay up there.
Okay, well, now if the trucks delivered some controlled chaos on concrete, the road course on Austin delivered some precision. So let's talk about that. Is SVG inevitable on road courses?
Yes and no. I mean, obviously at the Cup Series he didn't win, but in the Xfinity Series, O'Reilly Auto Parts, I did it.
That's what we're talking about, O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Barring a mechanical or something else, and in this one again, and honestly, this is one where again the CW Network doesn't like my cable company, so I didn't get to watch it. But how would it have played out if you didn't have that last lap chaos? That's part of it. He was there and in contention, and when something happens, he capitalized. So he was there.
All Sports All Day says SVG is inevitable when Zilich doesn't get dayed.
Yeah, I did hear some of that. Zilich did not have the best of weekends.
No, he had some challenges for sure. But yeah, I think SVG had not won that was his first win at COTA in the Xfinity Series. So I thought that was good for him.
Don't follow Sharon. Don't follow my example. It's not the Xfinity. I know I said it first.
Did I say it?
Yep.
Yeah, in the O'Reilly Series, yes. He delivered a standout performance, and what was really impressive is that he had to hold off some really tough competition at the end of that race. And some of the moves he made were like breathtaking. Some of those moves he made were really amazing. He charged through the field using a bold four-wide pass after the final restart to take the win in that Focus Health 250 for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. It was his first win in the O'Reilly Series at COTA, but Junior Motorsports extended their streak of wins on road courses to 10 as an organization. So I thought that was impressive too. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, especially with the drivers they had of Connor Zilich and then SVG, kind of expected that, and it did get delivered. Again, give credit to the organization. You pair up one of the best organizations in the O'Reilly Auto Parts with one of the best road course drivers, or two of the best. Yeah, your odds are pretty good with that when it comes to that. Why, again, COTA isn't exactly the best track for SVG? I don't know if I heard an answer to that. They talked about that he knew it wasn't. Why, don't know. But again, I think he, throughout both races, that and the Cup Series, saw that he is capable of it. Again, he started 13th in the Cup Series, but still ended up second. We'll get to that. So, yeah, I think that's one of those of, what did it take him? 2 races, and he's going to figure it out.
Most road courses I think we race are pretty flat, but this road course at COTA, it has some highs and lows. There's a lot of elevations there, and they were talking about it, I know, on Sirius XM, where you come off a flat straightaway and all of a sudden you're going up the hill. And, that can be a little bit challenging for people. Go ahead.
I just, from the race, I remember that. I didn't realize that of the climb up into turn 1 is as high as the Statue of Liberty. I was not aware of that. That was, they showed that of the elevation climb there.
It's a lot, and a lot of people don't realize just how much it is. All Sports All Day says, when I watch the races, I usually stay silent, keeping my excitement inside. But when Day wrecked Zillage, I lost it. I like Corey and have defended him, but what on earth was that? And then blamed it on his car. I agree. I was disappointed that Corey Day did that. I kind of chalked it up to a rookie mistake. I think he did race some races last year, but I think he's still kind of got his sea legs on him, and I don't think that he's completely comfortable on the road courses just yet. So, but that was unfortunate for Connor Zillage. I just hated that happened for him, and I too was very upset with Corey Day when that happened. And he says, I know it wasn't an intentional. Definitely a rookie mistake. But it just was so frustrating because Connor Zillage had to work so hard to get back up to the front, and then that happened.
I'm going to say something, and it's not my words. The kids nowadays, right? I think that also falls into that category that we talked about last week. You are a rookie. You don't know everything. You aren't the best. You got to accept part of that. Road course racing maybe isn't your forte. Accept that and not overdo it trying to prove something.
And I think that's part of what Corey Day is trying to do. He's such a sensation where he races that he wants to be a sensation in NASCAR too. But just sound advice, slow down just a little bit and it makes me laugh.
Yeah, I see it now. Yeah, you got it up there.
I knew it. KFB is always right. But I just, though not to take away, great run from Day. It was a pretty good run from Day. You're right. But I think he pushes it too hard. And I think he can relax just a little bit and maybe go faster. That's one of the big lessons that I hear from a lot of drivers is that they don't realize if they slow down, sometimes they can go faster. And I think he tries to hard charge it too much. And that hard charging is what's getting him into trouble. And if he can just relax, slow down a little bit, learn from other drivers and see what they're doing, be observant, then I think that it could really help him out a lot.
Here's where I fall on that. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not disputing there's some drivers out there who need to learn that lesson, but drivers like Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick also went through that. The veterans in their day were saying, darn these kids.
Yep. Hocevar is another one, but he's starting to get it, maybe.
I think so.
Okay, now the race boiled down to a dramatic finale. Then Gisbergen moved from 6th into the lead with just a handful of laps to go, stealing the spotlight from stage winners and early pace setters. And then what about Sam Mayer? Sam Mayer and others led earlier segments, but were shuffled back in the final laps, highlighting how crucial timing strategy on restarts is on a road course like COTA. So thoughts about the hard charge at the end, which SVG showed him how to do it. He didn't wreck anybody, but he was able to make that move and making it work. And then Sam Mayer, man, he was another aggressive driver that sometimes gets himself into trouble.
Now, again, I didn't get to see the race, but I saw some clips. And Shane Van Gisbergen is one that has shown he can do it, proved he can do it, knows how to do it. I mean, and, even the announcers are always like, wow, I can't believe where he made that pass. Okay. Yeah. If you're not capable of it, don't try it. That's one of those. You can't duplicate it. Watch SVG and go, oh, he did it, I'm going to do it. If you ain't got the skill, you can't do it. and you put yourself in a bind as well as some others, possibly by your actions. So again, you got to know your own limitations. And SVG, again, there's everybody in the field trying to figure out how he does some of these things, because you're right. A couple of the corners he cuts, I think AJ Allmendinger last year said, I don't know how he did it. I wouldn't be able to do it, and I'm a pretty good darn road racer.
Well, I sit in my living room and watch and say, oh my God, how did he do that? Yeah, I just think he has made some phenomenal moves that actually work. And he says, though not to take away, great run from Day. Oh, we already showed that one. I'm sorry. So strong performances from key contenders. Some of the people that had good days. Austin Hill finished a solid runner-up, marking his third top 2 finish in 5 races at COTA. He shows consistency at a challenging road course. Several established drivers, I don't know if you'd call them established, William Sawalich and Brent Cruz scored top 10 results, underscoring depth in the series and a competitive field. I was impressed with Brent Cruz. I thought he had some amazing runs in the early part of that race.
Now, honestly, that is one of those where I think you look at, again, as a rookie, that is taking the appropriate path of know what your limits are and get the most you can, but not overdo it and cost yourself. That's what I see from him as a driver, honestly.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty impressive. Brent Cruz, 6th place. Let's go. Another great guy I got to talk to last year. Yeah, I've not talked to Brent Cruz, but he does seem to be like a really down-to-earth kind of guy as well. And I was impressed with what he was doing on a difficult course. When you think about SVG, struggled with that course. It took him into his second, maybe third year to finally get a win at COTA. So it's not necessarily one of the easiest tracks. And I thought he really was impressive. And William Sawalich, who sometimes has had some really rough races, not of his own doing, really ended up having a pretty good finish here.
Well, and he should on the road course, because that was part of his rebound last year. I think he was third behind SVG and Connor Zilich in a couple of those battles. Again, of road course racing is where he comes from, and his skill set. Saw it greatly improved throughout the last part of last year. Again, started out this year kind of rough. So yeah, good to see that. And I'll have to look when we look at the points where he falls in there. But he's going to have a lot more of that this year. Especially honestly in this day and age, unless you have the OEM or a sponsor firmly behind you, you only got a year or two. And if you ain't winning and delivering, you could find your way out the door. So I would hate to see that for William Sawalich.
Yes. He says, All Sports All Day says, unless Trans Am races there, I don't think Cruz had any prior experience. And to my knowledge, I'm not sure that they've ever raced there.
Yeah, I don't think so either at that particular track. But again, that just road course experience, the different styles, all of that helps translate into it. And I want to make a little bit of a comparison over to the Truck Series. Brendan Queen, Butterbean. He is another one, although he is a little bit more flamboyant when it comes to celebrating or on camera or whatever. But he also still is very humble. Again, he takes his trophy and goes to Waffle House.
Yes. Yes, another real down-to-earth kind of guy. Let me tell you what the top 10 drivers were for this race. Shane Van Gisbergen, of course, in the number 9 was your number 1 finisher. Then it was Austin Hill in second. We had Sammy Smith third, Jesse Love fourth, Corey Dake ended up with that top 5 finish, Brent Cruz finishing 6th, William Sawalich in 7th, Justin Allgaier 8th, and Justin did not have an easy day. I'm glad he ended up with that 8th place finish. Ross Chastain in 9th, and Brennan Poole. How about Brennan Poole with a 10th place finish?
I'll tell you what, this is one of those seasons I really look forward to with where Brennan Poole now is in that number 44. getting that opportunity. And I just hope that he doesn't try too hard to make the most of it, because it's a great opportunity. That organization on the rise and building, and got a good solid driver in there now. So we're going to see his name more throughout the year. I just hope, like I said, that we don't see him be one of those that tries to do too much to try and overprove himself.
Exactly. The rookies, Patrick Starpoli, I've got down here in 20th place, and LeVar Scott 22nd, but they don't have Patrick listed as a rookie this week. I don't know if that's a typo or what happened there.
Should be, because he's definitely under the Rookie of the Year category with LeVar Scott there. And that's honestly not a surprise when it comes to, again, your solid road racers, obviously SVG at the top. The track itself, again, not the easiest of road courses or tracks. So I wouldn't take that too hard as a rookie. But as you read through the top 10, what you see there, aside from SVG, is what we expect, or I expect anyway, to be your year-long championship contenders. Austin Hill, Sammy Smith, Jesse Love, Justin Allgaier. Could William Swalich, Corey Day be there as well? Could, but they got to be able to do this week in and week out, not just have a good race or two and then 3 or 4 bad races.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. Now, one driver who didn't have a good day, we all expected to see Connor Zilisch up there, but he had a really rough day. Competitive runs by drivers like Connor Zilisch were derailed late by contact. We talked about the Corey Day incident, spin-outs and incidents adding post-race tension and storyline drama. Now, he's not running for points in this series this year, but it's always good to see him in this series.
Well, here's something, and I can't remember where I heard the conversation. Some of it might have been on social media, which tends to be a little bit more negative, but is there some truth in it? Is Connor Zilisch one of those that feels like he's owed? He had this situation of a day here in the O'Reilly Auto Parts. He got Suarez'd, in his opinion, on the Cup side, and somebody pointed out it didn't take him long to become a crybaby.
Yeah, he's got to be careful of that. I agree. We've been really impressed with him. He does seem to be mature beyond his age, at least what we saw from him last year. But I think I don't want to say spoiled.
That was kind of a word that was kind of circulating in my head.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to come up with a different word for that. But I think he's gotten to a point where he expects more out of himself. And in that NASCAR Cup Series especially, I think he's got to be careful. Here's what's happening, though, and why it's more challenging for him. People have learned from him. And so now they are getting better at what they're doing. Not that Corey Day is one of those people, because he hasn't been around that much to learn from him. But I do think that people are catching up with Connor Zilisch to at least some degree. And so it is going to be harder for him as they do catch up to him. Same thing with SVG.
But there's a difference of when you heard SVG's interview after, or even in the O'Reilly Auto Parts, he said that one kind of came to him, the seas parted and it came to him, and he capitalized on it with an impressive move. Connor Zilisch, especially when it comes to the Cup Series, you're running with the big boys now. I mean,
and
so I think that's part of it.
Kind of car. So it's gonna require a little bit of finessing on his end that's different than what he's done in the Xfinity Series.
From that aspect, it'll be really interesting to see, and I think we've seen it through a couple other rookies that have come up to the Cup Series, and I'm just going to use Ty Gibbs as an example. Had been dominant in everything he had been to. This is a Cup Series. Only the elite get here.
You're with the best of the best now, and so it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be harder than any other series. With COTA results in the books, points leader Austin Hill continues to build momentum. He had a second place again this week, and performances here set the tone for how the O'Reilly Series Championship picture might evolve leading into the next road course event. That's not a road course event. It says the next road course event at Phoenix Raceway. Not a road course event, but the next event at Phoenix. I do think that we're going to see some shifting as it relates to SVG and Connor Zellage. And it has to do with what I said just a few minutes earlier. I think people are catching up. They're learning from him. He's getting better. SVG in particular is getting better on the road courses. And I think he's going to be a strong contender this year, not just on the road courses, but on the ovals too.
And that goes both ways. The rest of the field is catching up on road courses. As we saw that, Tyler Reddick handled his business. But as you mentioned, he's the one catching up on ovals, so kind of balance it out. I want to go up. You didn't put up this last one from All Sports All Day. Reference Brennan has a lot of experience, but don't really expect doing.
Oh, I had it up
doing
there.
Much of that. Oh, okay.
I had it up there.
That one, again, we got to wait and see. Like I said, the organization is an organization that's trying to build and become a solid team, and then on to elite. I think this is one of those of Poole having the opportunity as a driver to be in that position, because he's always kind of bounced around, riding with this team for a race or two, off for a couple of weeks, and then whatnot, doing much overdrive. Oh, okay. Yeah, he is one. You're right. Okay, I follow you now. Sorry. I don't know. I have hopes, and you know me, anybody that's listened to this show, I am always more of the glass half full. It may not pan out, but I do look for good things that could develop from it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Again, we see a lot of drivers go through that learning curve, so it's not unheard of.
I look at it. I kind of look at it look at Alex Bowman and Ross Chastain when they were bouncing around different rides, not top tier organizations, just solid drivers getting the best out of their equipment. Once they got into that solid ride, really showed what they're capable of, and I am hoping that's the case. If I recall correctly, he was one in line for Chip Ganassi in the O'Reilly Auto Parts when they shut down.
Yeah.
That one broke my heart. That broke my heart. Yes, absolutely.
Yep. Okay, the bottom line, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race at COTA was defined by Ben Gisbergen's late race prowess and strategic drama, strong showings by road course specialists, and a mix of triumphs and near misses that will carry through the early season. I think, there were a lot of situations where, and I think it's just a difficult track. There's a lot of places on the COTA track where things can get a little messy, if you will. And some of the drivers got caught up in that. The difference between their skill, you said it earlier, Jay, there's a difference between the skill of some of these drivers that are trying to make things work like SVG does, and what SVG does. He knows how to make it work. He sees those openings and can make those openings work. Other drivers might not have the finesse and the skill to be able to do that.
And there again, I just think back to Kevin Harvick at Phoenix when he was the first to really dive down and cut the dog leg.
Yes.
Other drivers said, I've watched the video, I've tried it, I can't do that. There are certain things that the driver just has that capability and feel in the seat of their pants, as they like to say, that you can't teach or train somebody that. I mean, that is just inborn. And SVG's got a lot of that when it comes to road courses. His footwork, I know they always reference that, his footwork. That's not something you can even necessarily watch and learn. It's just in him.
Okay, is there anybody that you think closed the gap this weekend?
Well, I don't know if closed the gap.
Points. Let's look at the points.
All right. I don't know if closed the gap, but at least continuing the momentum. Sheldon Creed was just outside the top 10. Was one. Where are my points? There we go. So I think carrying that momentum of, again, not a top 5 or a win, but still being a solid week in and week out driver. The one I think was important was Carson Kvapil, and I shut down my race results. Where did he actually finish? Because remember, he was in the number 91 DGM Junior Prepared car.
Yeah, he was up front for some parts of the race. He ended up finishing 19th.
Okay. I think that was one that was important to keep an eye on because, again, he's bouncing rides throughout the year, but I thought was a good showing being that it was technically a DGM car. So when we look at the points,
I thought Harrison Burton has had a really rough start this year as well. I had high hopes for him because he's had good finishes at COTA, but in this race he ended up finishing 29th. Rajah Caruth had some good moments, but it's what happens at the end, I guess, that matters. Blaine Perkins on the other side of that finished with a 17th place finish, which I think is really good for him. So,
and you mentioned two there that are, again, with the new organization. So,
yes,
I hate to use that as an excuse, but there is some factors there. Even though you had a good run there last year, it was with a different team. Does that carry over? So, got to kind of find that balance. You talk about closing the gap. Obviously, it's tough to close a gap on Austin Hill when he's got a win and 3 stage wins, but Jesse Love is only 28 points back, Justin Allgaier 39, Sheldon Creed, even with the win, 49 back or 48 back, and then 5th place Carson Kvapil at minus 59. Rajah Caruth with 1 stage win and 6, Sammy Smith, Corey Day, Parker Retzlaff, Sam Mayer, and Brennan Jones. Here I think is, as we get into, call it the grind of the season, is where you're really going to see the separation, or in the case of some that had a bad start, gaining ground and getting back in the mix. Again, normally I think Dave Moody always likes to say 6 races into a season is where you're going to really start to see who's got it and who doesn't. And that's not to say they can't pick it up and regain it or turn it around, but that's 6 races, and that covers a variety of tracks. Again, the week in and week out, you see that over multiple styles of tracks. That's where we're going to really see. And again, you got Allgaier, Love, and Hill. Guess what? Those were championship contenders last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know that they're established as they got it and are going to have it. They may have the bad start or bad race, but they're going to be there week in and week out.
And I think some of the rookies too. Usually it's the second half of the season that we really see them come on. The real test will be coming up at the standard ovals in the coming weeks. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yep.
I 100% agree with that. Okay. Did you go over the points?
I did. I think I went as far as
just
where did I quit there? 8th. Well, yeah, Rajah Caruth, Sammy Smith, Corey Day, Sam Mayer 10, 11th and 12th, Brandon Jones and Brennan Poole. And then you got Taylor Gray. Again, I think we're going to see him possibly have a breakout year. William Sawalitz, not as deep as he was last year. And then you got rookie Patrick Starpoli. Blaine Perkins has had some good runs. Ryan Sieg, another one, man, just continuing to grind out. Seeing wins slip away from him, in the past. I feel so bad.
I know. It's kind of sad to see that happen. But like we said, this is just the 3rd race into the season. So there's still a lot of racing to do. And I think I'm glad to see Parker Retzlaff having the kind of year he's having. He's a 9th in the driver points. So I think that's good for him. Corey Day, 8th. He's another rookie. He's a rookie this year? They don't have
that's another one. You're right. I don't know why they don't have him. I don't know if because we had Patrick Starpoli, LeVar Scott, and Brent Cruz. Boy, I don't know if Corey Day has surpassed starts from last year, if he's not eligible for rookie.
I wonder.
But this chart doesn't have Starpoli either, so I'm not real sure how to read that.
Okay,
Well,
so
we'll look at that for sure come Wednesday when we do our previews of who the. I just remember LeVar Scott, Patrick Starpoli, and then Brent Cruz once he was eligible full time.
right. Let's see. All Sports All Day says, Day and Starpoli had a handful of starts last year. Yeah, you're right. They both did. So I'm not sure. Usually if it's under like 7 or 8, I forget where the cutoff is there.
But I think NASCAR changed that rule like 3 years ago. Yeah, it used to be if you went over an X number of starts, they took that away, and whether or not you were full time or whatever, I don't remember exactly. We'll have to do some research into that.
Yeah, I have to check into that again. Okay, so with that, while the spotlight was on Austin, the West Coast was building its own storyline this weekend. And did we just see the early championship favorite take the lead at the ARCA West race? I was pleasantly surprised when I saw who won that race. And then I sat down and watched it because I wanted to see what happened in that race. It was a good race. Did you
That
see
is
it?
another one. No, that is one I didn't actually watch. Going based off the notes, though, excellent race. I think we saw some things expected as well as some things unexpected. Sean Hingorani fully expected to be one of the contenders and was, from what my understanding, was actually dominant in it, but didn't get the win, and that happens.
Yeah. Well, they had two overtimes. And Sean Hingorani, you're right, was up there. Mason Massey scored a stunning victory in his very first ARCA West start. He'd never raced in ARCA West before, and the one start, one win already, leading the final laps and surviving a very chaotic late race action to take the checker flag with Bill McAnally Racing. So that was really a big deal for Bill McAnally Racing as well, because they were kind of dormant, if you will, last year. We didn't see a lot from them other than Jake Bowman winning at Colorado National. The win marks both Massey's first career ARCA Menards Series West victory and a big moment for BMR as they chase a return to championship form. So we'll see what happens for the rest of this year in that regard. The race was extended from its scheduled 150 laps to 167 laps because of the 2 overtime restarts, setting up a tense high-stakes battle in the closing laps. Massey was the one to capitalize on the late restarts and overtake race-long leader Sean Hingorani, who led a race-high 136 laps but couldn't hold on at the end. Hingorani did look strong all night, pacing the field for the majority of the race and seemingly poised for a win. Ultimately, he fell to 5th by the final overtime attempt, turning what had been a dominant performance in one of the week's biggest near-miss stories. So I'm going to stop there because I've got some other topics there, but let's talk about that. A near-miss for Hingorani and a big win for Mason Massey.
And that's one of those, I think you mentioned, of not taking anything away from Massey by any means, but you got the organization of Bill McAnally in there being in position. Again, obviously he's got the talent. He was in the mix, capitalized on the situation that happened. So that tells you right there, it's not like it was an accidental win or they backed into it. You got to be there to capitalize on any situation and be successful at it. That goes back to SVG. You got to be able to do what you're trying to do, and Massey did. Sharon, you might. All Sports All Day is Massey full time, and I said I believe so. I know he's on the list for Phoenix.
Yes, I believe he is full time this year. He is racing with, and I know the team, and all of a sudden it's escaping me. What team is
Bill McAnally?
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's with Bill McAnally Racing. Yes, I'm pretty sure he's racing full time along with Cole Denton. And let me just kind of do a plug here. Tomorrow, Sal is sitting down to talk with Cole Denton, his teammate.
Awesome.
So that's going to happen tomorrow. So watch for that interview coming out this week as well. Hailie Deegan too, right? Yeah,
Yep.
she's
Yeah.
racing with Bill McAnally Racing in that number 16 car this year. So they are teammates this year. So Mason Massey has over 90 starts. I wrote that somewhere.
Yeah, it just said NASCAR starts, 90 NASCAR starts.
Yeah, across NASCAR series, he's got over 90 NASCAR starts and never won. So the fact that he got into the ARCA West Series, the very first race, and won was kind of a big deal for him, and I was super happy for him that he was able to do that. And I'm also super happy that he is racing the full season.
The other two there, right behind them, Eric Nascimento Jr. Again, waiting to see when he starts knocking down wins, because he's been a top 5 contender there to again make the most of the situation.
I had him under my surprising performances. Eric Nascimento finished second, rallying through the field to score a big result, while Taylor Mayhew, who's also one of the rookies this year, grabbed an impressive podium in third on a night he wasn't among the pre-race favorites. He is a rookie this year. And veterans, the defending champion is Trevor Huddleston. He won both races at Kern County Raceway last year. He also ran near the front, but the race action mixed up the finishing order considerably, and he ended up finishing further back. So that was those were my two surprises.
Yeah, and Mayhew, being the rookie, but it has that pedigree, racing pedigree, if you will, yes. With the Mayhew family. So not necessarily a shock, a little bit better than I would have expected coming in. The one that really got me was Jade Avedizian on the pole, and then ended up with 8th place finish. That was the one that was a little surprising to me.
Yes, I was really happy to see her have that great start to the race, and she held her own throughout that race. She really did a good job, as did Hailie Deegan. They both ran top 10 for most of that race. Now, I was going to give you the race results here for the ARCA West Series. Mason Massey finished in first, then it was Eric Nascimento, Taylor Mayhew, Trevor Huddleston, and Sean Hingarani rounds out the top 5. The next 5 were Hailie Deegan, Joey East, Jade Avedizian, Gavin Ray, another one of the rookies, and Cole Denton with his top 10 finish. Our buddy Eric Johnson Jr. Finished in 11th place.
Yeah, again, Eric Johnson, one that looking to get that breakout year. Again, always right there, just so close. Wish I could tell him, reach out to him and tell him what that final key is to getting to victory lane, because they are just ever so close. He was in the top 5 in points last year in a battle. So to 11th isn't exactly great, but solid start.
Yep. And it was a very competitive race throughout the race. Did you have any other highs or lows that you wanted to mention, Jay?
Well, I think when you look at the high, lows, there would be the other Jan's towing Ford, Robbie Keneally, ended up 20th. So again, I don't know what happened there, but unfortunately, especially on road course racing, that can happen. Hopefully it's not a setback for the season.
I wanted to say, I think he had a mechanical issue at the end of that race.
Okay.
Yeah, he's 93 laps down. So it kind of was in mid-race or somewhere that he had that problem, and it put him further back. So by winning the season opener, Massey is now your series points leader, Jay.
Yeah, obviously, first race, you win, you take the points lead. It'll be interesting to see. Again, we talk about at least 3 races in to where it really starts to separate itself out. The big thing I look at here for the ARCA Menards West Series is their next race.
Phoenix.
They're running with the big boys because it's a combo event with the main ARCA Menards Series. So that'll be interesting to see the mixture of the two. Again, it's not a guarantee, but your ARCA Menards Series drivers, you expect them to be more up front than the West Series drivers, but you never know what can happen.
Well, and I will say this, they are racing on Thursday this week. So just a heads up to everybody to watch for that race on Thursday night, not Friday or Saturday. They're racing early this week. And so I'm thinking Jay and I'm hoping we can get together and do the preview a little bit early as well so that we can get that information out to everybody. But I thought it was a pretty thrilling night at Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. We had that breakout win for a newcomer, roller coaster late race drama with 2 overtime restarts, bounce back performances from several contenders, all pointing to an unpredictable but an exciting ARCA West season. I think it's going to be highly competitive again this year.
I think so too, and I'm looking forward to it. Again, they're just getting rolling. They do have that second race coming up, but it is a joint. And if I'm not mistaken, I counted 40 on the entry list. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know on a joint race like that what their field limit is. So you'll have to tune into our preview show to find out on that.
All right. Anything more that you wanted to mention here in the ARCA Menards Series?
No, again, first race, and again, a little bit of back to racing jitters, causing some of the chaos. But we'll wait and see as this season gets going. I hope that Mason Massey can continue that momentum. And some of the other storylines you mentioned, rookie Taylor Mayhew, Trevor Huddleston, we know is going to be a contender, but also may not be popular. But I'm interested to see what Haley Deegan does running the full season. They're again in that Napa Auto Care Chevrolet for McAnally Racing.
Yeah, Hingorani All Sports All Day is not racing full-time this year. That was a one-off race for him. So it just depends on where he can get a ride, I guess. But after the race on Saturday night for the ARCA West Series, Sunday happened.
Right. Sunday usually comes after Saturday.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Sunday happened, and it was a really big news. Historic 3 straight wins for Tyler Reddick has never happened in NASCAR in their years of being a racing organization. Reddick made the NASCAR Cup Series history by becoming the very first driver ever to win the first 3 races of a Cup season with victories at the Daytona 500, Echo Park Speedway, and COTA. And what's cool about that, you've got 3 different types of tracks. I know Atlanta is a speedway, super speedway type of track, but it's a 1.5 mile track as opposed to a 2 mile track. His win at COTA was especially significant because it came at a road course showing versatility beyond the super speedways and ovals where he opened the season strong. After starting on the pole position, Reddick had to fend off the main guy on road courses, Shane Van Gisbergen, who won 5 of the last 6 Cup races. They were both kind of chasing their own records at this race because Shane Van Gisbergen was hoping to get his 6th straight race win on a road course to tie himself with Jeff Gordon. Van Gisbergen finished a strong second, but was unable to extend his road course streak, making for a compelling late race duel. And then 23XI, 2311 Racing, and Michael Jordan, they had another moment to kind of enjoy the moment with the team. I love that Michael Jordan was out there celebrating with the crew, the pit crew, and super excited. Denny Hamlin and Jordan, that were both on hand to celebrate the record-breaking weekend, including deep runnings from teammates and other strong performances by the organization. It underscores the rise as a championship contender. We'll talk about that. So your thoughts here about Shane Van Gisbergen missing his goal at this race, Tyler Reddick hitting his goal at this race, and what it means for the organization.
Well, I'm going to start with 2311 because that is the one that history was made, Tyler Reddick. Now, he is actually broke another record there. He is the only one in the 6 now races at COTA to be a repeat winner. The interesting thing, if I'm not mistaken, his first one came in an RCR car. I meant to look that up. I just didn't have the time, but I think that win came in an RCR car, if I'm not mistaken. But going back to the record, you look at Daytona and the road course individually, anything can happen. So just to win those races, there is so much that could happen that isn't outside of your control. So that's one thing to look at. And then to put that streak together of 3, and they mentioned Christopher Bell winning just 3 in a row at any point in any stretch is phenomenal, let alone these first 3 races of a season for a driver that didn't win last year. Again, all kinds of things that could have led into that. To see him focused and on fire. And I'll tell you what, and I know I saw a joke and it might be out of line, but somebody said, well, maybe 2311 won some horsepower in the lawsuit they got over NASCAR.
I heard that too.
Yeah, right. I mean, you look at it, they've always been strong, but yeah, they definitely are on point. And I say that because turning to SVG, we know who he is on road courses. COTA is not his best one. He qualified 13th. Something did seem a little off. He still got up there, was running second, but you saw it at the end. SVG said it in his post-race interview. We got beat, that it was where he was getting to his bumper, the bumper of Tyler Reddick in the closing laps. But by the end, it was like 10 car lengths. SVG's car just didn't have it. And he was still, I don't know what the margin was there back to third. The two of them were having their own battle because third, I don't know where Christopher Bell came to. I know he had new tires and was coming, but, it was between the two of them. So, again, Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And Tyler Reddick did it.
He did it. He beat the man. And that goes to what I was saying. I really think that a lot of these guys are starting to catch up. They've seen him race now for a couple of years, and they're starting to catch up to him. And Tyler Reddick is a good example of that. Let's go over the top 10 finishers and some of the other finishes here in the Cup Series. Tyler Reddick, we know, got that first place finish. Shane Van Gisbergen had to settle for second. Christopher Bell finished third. Ty Gibbs fourth. Michael McDowell fifth. So really good to see those names up in the top 5. Then it was Kyle Larson, who, by the way, this is not one of his better tracks either. That was a great finish for Kyle Larson. Chase Elliott finished 7th. Ryan Blaney 8th. AJ Allmendinger 9th. Denny Hamlin is your top 10. And then Connor Zilic ended up with that 14th place finish. And let me see, are there any others I want to mention here? Bubba Wallace, the teammate to Tyler, finished in, that's appropriate, 2311. He finished 11th.
Well, were you going to go further down or highlight anybody else there?
Well, Chase Briscoe, I was disappointed for Chase Briscoe. He had that axle issue that gave him that 37th place finish, but he was up there contending for a while. So disappointed that he did not get a chance to really race this race.
The one thing you hit on there, and that goes back to the team of 2311, Bubba Wallace is not a road course racer. I didn't see his post race if he had one, but Going into it anyway, I think at this point he's probably thrilled with an 11th place finish. But the others you mentioned, they're in the top 10. Kyle Larson, not his strong suit. Speaking of suits, he's one that had some cool suit issues. Probably one of the ones that came out of it the better. AJ Allmendinger, you mentioned finishing 9th. And again, I think Colleague Racing getting their feet back under them, because Allmendinger it's been a while since we've seen him, since SVG and Connor Zilic got the news of Road Course Kings. But to get that finish, he actually ended up on a stretcher into the infield care center. Another one that had the cool suit failure.
And I don't know if his was a heat issue or not, but Alex Bowman got sick during the race, and Myatt Snyder stepped in to his car because he did not finish the race.
And that was one, and I think Eric Jones was another one they said of feeling ill. I don't know if those were directly related to a cool suit issue or not, but something got the better of him. You're right, Alex Bowman finally making that decision. They said, hey, your health is more important than anything else. If you got to bring it in, bring it in. Very unique situation. Myatt Snyder runs in the O'Reilly Auto Parts, was actually working as and I don't know what this means, but a spotter for the pit reporter.
Yes.
And they went and grabbed him and said, hey, can you get a suit and get in the car? NASCAR approved it and monitored it. They did the driver change and everything. Didn't gain anything by it, but a very unique situation there.
And I heard a story today, too. He's one of the drivers that carries his helmet with him. So he had a helmet with him that he could use in that race as well. So kind of unusual, but just in case, I might as well take the helmet. You never know what can happen. So kind of interesting there.
But yeah, staying on those top two, and I kind of tied it, like I said, to organizations. Hendrick Motorsports, I know at one point had, with the exception Alex Bowman, who wasn't having the best of the day anyway, and part of that might have been that the illness or whatever. But I know at one point there, Hendrick Motorsports were nose to tail there. I don't know where William Byron ended up finishing, but they were all three right there, like 6th, 7th, 8th, or 7th, 8th, 9th.
Yeah, Byron, I think, ended up back. But All Sports All Day says Myatt had his own personal fire suit there, too.
Okay, I didn't know that. Like I said, I saw when he was putting it on. I didn't know where they got it from, but guess that's a note to others, drivers, of always have it with you, because you never know when and where you might get called from.
Yeah, William Byron finished 13th.
All right, and I'm trying to make sure I don't say anything bad here, but my computer is giving me all kinds of fits here, so I'm trying to pull that up. Yeah. Well, at least it didn't shut down on me like it did just before we went on the air.
Brad Keselowski was the one that we didn't know coming into the race if he was going to be able to race or not. He did end up finishing that race. I don't think Joey Han was on standby, but I don't think he ever got in the car.
He did not, and they showed Keselowski obviously walking away with the cane and a limp, but also I think it was Kyle Busch that got out with kind of a limp. If I'm not mistaken, they said something about that. I don't know if that was a matter of heat cramps or something, or just, again, road courses, wear and tear on you. Kudos to Brad Keselowski for finishing it out. Let's see, where did he finish? 20th. But yeah, big shout out to him. And they did say that that's the type of driver Brad is. Like, I'm here for the team. I'll endure it. But yeah, Joey, because that was one they mentioned of that they couldn't take to get in Alex Bowman's. Plus, you have the Ford Chevrolet manufacturer issue there.
Right. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Just to touch on those fire suits and the heat exhaustion. It was the first hot race that they had of the year, similar to St. Petersburg. It was very hot in Texas over the weekend. And but I do think that there's some kind of a problem when you have as many people as we had this weekend that had issues with the heat and exhaustion. And it makes you wonder, too, if they're like Alex Bowman not feeling well, if there wasn't some kind of a carbon monoxide kind of thing.
Right, and I say Eric Jones was the other one they mentioned, and this isn't, this wasn't about Texas, because I remember that having this conversation on our Hot Topics in years past, as these things became the popular thing. I understand they're great and do good things for the driver, but when they malfunction or fail or whatever, they cause such a problem, because now you are essentially pumping hot water around the driver. If the air vent isn't working, it's pushing hot air into the driver's helmet. I get concerned, because we've seen this before where we've had multiple 4, 5, 6 failures, and it's getting these drivers where they need to be taken to the medical care center afterwards. So that's a concern of mine. As I mentioned, I don't know what the failures were, of why, if it's that hot that they are or something, but man, if they fail, that just makes it that much harder. And that's why I said, you got to give it to Kyle Larson. He said he had experienced his and felt okay, but we saw AJ Allmendinger and a couple others not so much.
Yeah, I just think it's something that NASCAR really needs to take a very serious look at, because I think it's unacceptable to have that many drivers that have those issues. And I would not want to race with hot water running throughout my body, or, throughout the fire suit. I think they need to look at that, because that, like you said earlier, health is more important, and they need to look at this and see what they can do to fix that problem.
And I don't know the intricacies of the suit and how it works and all, but having, on the motor, you have a kill switch or whatever, of something where they can at least cut it off. So it may not be working, but not pumping the hot water around it and blowing hot air, a way to disconnect it and shut it off, so it's at least not a negative impact.
Yes, I'm with you, All Sports, on that. I can only imagine how miserable that must have been, being hot in the car, nonetheless having hot water running all over your body. Yeah, it just upsets me when I think about it, that the drivers have to endure that, and it's just not right. So you better have a whole lot of drivers on hand until you can get that fixed, because I just think we've had and this is not the first time. I mean, there seemed to be a rash of them this time, and that's concerning in and of itself. But it's not the first time we've had these issues, and I don't want to see somebody get seriously injured as a result of a leak or whatever with that hot water running through those bodysuits. I think that they need to look at it. Yeah.
Well, and I think about back in the day when they talked about that, of even just handing an ice pack for a driver to put inside, and then that would melt and get in their seat, and then they'd boil their rear end. We've seen some different things with the heel pads, where if they fail, blisters on the feet because of it. So I understand it's a risk versus reward, but again, if you're talking about a driver being that worn out, and give these, go back to the old discussion, are drivers really athletes? That tells you look at AJ Allmendinger, he got out of the car and he went to the ground, I mean.
Well, it's not a good look for the sport either, to have everybody kind of falling out of their cars and not feeling well at the end of a race. So I think it's a serious issue enough that NASCAR needs to look at it. And I'm sure that they are. Do you want to say anything about 2311 and Michael Jordan?
Yeah, going back to that again of right now, I mean, whatever the reason, they're on point, got the three-peat. I know there's the comparisons, Michael Jordan with the basketball three-peat.
Yes.
And again, was I happy with the lawsuit and the way that went? I was not. Do I dislike that team? No, I think it's great. I do think Michael Jordan brings a lot of good things to that. Was I happy with the way things went? No. But in this case, I am happy for him. And Sharon, you mentioned it, him being on pit road and celebrating with the crew, his excitement level, and then he gave credit to Denny Hamlin. He said, I'm just the money guy, which, I was like, I don't know if I'd be bragging on that, but he's a true sports fan, involved in the team, whether he likes to say so or not. He is involved in the team, and certainly, and you see him, I know, in the previous 2 races, get frustrated because other fans want to bag on it, but he's a good team owner. How come when he goes and comforts Bubba Wallace, because Bubba Wallace could have won those first 2 races, was in contention, he's there as a father figure consoling him as well, and people want to make fun of that. When Rick Hendrick did it with Dale Jr. or Chase Elliott, they're like, oh, what a great man. I don't understand, I'm like, why? Because it's Bubba Wallace. Is that a bad thing? But that's the kind of person Michael Jordan is.
Right. And he likes mentoring other people, I think. Let's see. How about the championship story here? With 3 wins and 3 starts, Reddick now has a dominant early points lead in the Cup standings, virtually locking him into the playoff picture, it says here, setting up a strong title campaign in the very least.
Well, before we get to that, just looking at the, top 10 there, the other organization I wanted to point out was Spire Motorsports. Michael McDowell ended up with a 5th place finish, started 6th. Again, I think that's one you got to look at that organization, and I know that's going to lead into a different hot topic with JGR and them, but they're another one right on that cusp and verge of becoming a great organization. We've seen Carson Hocevar be up front and contending. What happened from there, different hot topic, but they as an organization are on the rise and going in the right direction, and I am excited for that because that does lead into then the point standings. Way too early. Sharon, I don't remember how you worded the initial question here for the show. This isn't a win and you're in.
Right. It's too early to call it, maybe, but we'll have to see. I think, like the comment, not so fast, it's too early.
Yeah, not so fast, too early. Now, do I have faith in them? Again, we know what they are as a team. We expected them there last year. They weren't quite there for whatever reason. This obviously sets you up really well. 70-point lead already over his teammate, Bubba Wallace, who's been having a very solid start to this season. But to say a championship favorite, I have a tough time with that because we know all good things must come to an end, I guess is one way to look at it. Kudos to them for achieving what they have. It's one thing to get to the top of the mountain. It's another to stay there. When you look at, I mentioned Bubba Wallace. Right behind him, though, when we talked about this change of format to the Chase format, mention these drivers, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, week in and week out, top 5, top 10. Their bad weeks are 11th to 15th. I mean, that's where I think you got to look at your championship contenders. Now, again, am I counting him out? No. Am I guaranteeing him in? No. I think Tyler Reddick especially is one that has shown he can be that throughout a year. Had an off year last year. Bubba Wallace is kind of the wild card. I felt like for a couple of years he's been right on that cusp in the bubble, the 16th to 12th. Possibly has the win. He got that at the Brickyard last year. Now, what I look at, though, 3rd place, Shane Van Gisbergen. Everybody last year, he got the wins on road courses, locked himself in. He shouldn't have been in. He is currently in 5th. He is improving on the ovals. Look out. Now, again, give it a couple more races. We'll see where he sustains. Then you go back to what I consider one of those week in and week out. Joey Logano right there. Daniel Suarez, that goes back to Spire Motorsports. He's in the contention week in and week out, along with AJ Allmendinger and colleague, and then Michael McDowell and Carson Hocevar. Guess what? Those are your other 2 Spire Motorsports cars. I'm excited for the year. I think it is way too early to even think of locking anybody into what we would have used to call the championship for. Are they contenders? Absolutely. But thinking back even to the playoff format, William Byron is one. We see this early, strong start. You got to maintain it through the summer and be able to take it to another level when it comes playoff time, chase time, the wrap up of the season, whatever format it is. You got to be there in all three parts.
Well, it is going to be interesting. Were you looking at the points report already, Jay, with that?
Yeah, that was from the point standings. The top, what did I get through 10, 11, top 10.
Okay. And there's 16, 16 that are going to be in the chase.
Okay, but, I'll hit those 6 real quick. Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski, William Byron, Zane Smith, another one. I like to see that, and I hope it can continue. Kyle Larson climbing his way back up after a rough start. And then Ryan Preece at 16th is that he's one of those of waiting to have the breakout year because he's always been right at that bubble. Problem is you got a couple of big names down there that got to climb out of the hole. If they get wins, they'll do it. Kyle Busch in 22nd, Denny Hamlin 23rd, and where did Christopher Bell 24th. You mentioned Chase Briscoe. He was a contender last year. So there's some big names down there that are climbing out of that hole.
Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting storyline to watch, is some of these guys that are down in the point standings, not even in the top 16, that are going to have a pretty heavy climb out because they're more than 100 points back already. So, matter of fact, you don't have to go far to be 100 points back. AJ Allmendinger in 8th is 100 points out of the lead. So it's pretty amazing.
All right. So top 5 contender for the championship. Yeah. Like I said, I definitely would say he is a contender, even without this strong a start. Last year was just an off year. 23-11 right now, firing on all 11 cylinders. If they have 11 cylinders, they aren't making it through tech, but hopefully not.
True. So let's see. What do you think was the biggest moment of the weekend? Was it Reddick's victory, Riggs' breakthrough, SVG's road course dominance, or the ARCA West statement win? Because they were all pretty much statements.
I think it has to be, and there went my computer. I think it has to be Tyler Reddick getting that 3. Again, it's never been done. The last one to even come 2 in a row was Matt Kenseth back quite a few years. I want to say 09, but I might be wrong. Only been done, what did we have up? 3 or 4 times in history. The previous best finish in that 3rd race was 3rd. Now, again, did we expect Tyler Reddick as a road course racer to be in contention? Yes, but he was on the pole. Again, SVG just didn't seem to be as dominant, but he showed up and was 2nd and put pressure on Reddick, and Reddick never faltered. That was a big thing there when SVG was on his bumper in the closing laps within a couple of car lengths. Reddick never faltered. He held his own and did what he had to do. Wasn't driving out of the rear mirror, and that caused him to make a mistake. And they said that's why, even if you can't get to him, if you're in and around them, you make them nervous or start watching and miss their line. And Reddick never did.
Never did. All Sports All Day says, remember last year everyone went head over heels for Bell, and he only won once more in the year. He had those 3 straight wins, but only one more win for the rest of the year. And freaking Corey Day making the place an enduro race.
All right. Well, we got his pick for the top storyline.
On a real note, definitely Reddick's win, most valuable. Yeah, I thought that was the biggest moment of the weekend, was Reddick's win. But I also thought it was great to see how happy Layne Riggs was to get his first road course win and the first win on a street course for the Truck Series. That was a really big deal for him. I know Ben Rhodes came into that race saying he thought he was going to win the race. He had to settle for a 2nd, I think.
Yeah, well, and again, of just the way it worked out, because he certainly was a contender throughout the entire race, as he's been through all year. again, do I see strength in that team in where they should be that they haven't been the past few years? Absolutely do. Is it too early to say he's a championship contender? Yeah, it's a little early.
Yeah, it's a little early, but he's certainly coming out strong. And I see a different Tyler Reddick this year than we've seen at least in last year. Last year was the anomaly, if you will, of Tyler Reddick. This year, he seems to be back on par.
I agree with that, because you think back of when he came to 2311, got a couple victories, and everybody thought, well, that's why they went and got him. And then again, just having that off year last year. Again, had some family things. He had the lawsuit, a lot of different things that it could have been.
Okay. So what have we not talked about yet, Jay?
Well, I think let's see, these were the two. Hold on. Not only is my computer failing me, my eyesight's failing me and trying to read my own handwriting. I think the only one that wasn't specifically race results or related was unfortunately, it's a lawsuit, JGR, Chris Gabehart, and Spire Motorsports.
Yes. Initially, he did not give a ruling at when they went to court this week. However, on Monday, Chris Gabehart, a federal judge ruled Monday that former Joe Gibbs competition director Chris Gabehart can continue to work for Spire Motorsports, but not the role he performed with his old team. So the ruling on Monday from U.S. District Judge Susan C. Rodriguez in the Western District of North Carolina followed her order that both sides attempt to find a resolution following Friday's hearing on the JGR's motion for a restraining order to prevent Gabehart from working for Spire. She set a March 16th date for a full hearing regarding Gabehart's employment. So he can work for them, but he cannot do the same duties that he did with Joe Gibbs Racing.
And I'm going to kind of take the same stance I took on last year's. I want to talk about racing, and I get it. There may be some issues there. I'm not disputing either party for what has happened or the road it's gone. Apparently, the way it's got to go. I got no real investment in it, I guess would be the word. And I hate to be the storyline when we should be talking about racing. You know, and I said this, of whether or not they're stealing intellectual property is a tough call to make. I know they said that some of the things that he supposedly or allegedly did put onto his own drive and whatever had to be returned. And even, you know, the back and forth, again, of whether or not Ty Gibbs is getting preferential treatment or whatnot. You know, Kyle Busch weighed in on that. I just want to talk about racing.
Yeah, I hear you. But, you know, it is newsworthy. People are interested in knowing what the progress is on that or what the updates are. So that's why we bring it up. Not because we enjoy talking about it.
Right, yeah. The one interesting thing was I know a couple places documented it that during that hearing that Chris Gabehart did go over and talk to Joe Gibbs. One of the profound statements was there, I can't believe we're in this position. And Joe Gibbs agreed, you know, and that was all to it. Again, you know, you leave a team you've been with for, and I don't remember how long he's been with that team. You know, there was something said there that it's retaliation of he had the courage to walk away. Don't know. Again, it's he said, she said, or he said, he said.
Yeah. Well, some of that is jockeying for, you know, jockeying themselves for position, if you will. So that's why sometimes I don't like listening to what people are saying during these kinds of things, because like you said, it's a he said, she said kind of thing. And all it is trying to position yourself going into the court battle. So,
yeah. I will say this. I know initially they had filed for, I think, like an 18-month non-compete clause is what they call it. I don't agree with that. Because again, if you're out, in, especially on the driver's side of 1 week, but a crew chief or a competition director, things move so fast. To take them out of a NASCAR or any race job for 18 months, to me, that's taken away their livelihood. So I don't agree with that. I was happy to see they didn't do that. Now, telling him he can't work in the exact same role, now you're getting into, again, and off the top of my head, and my computer's not working. At JGR, he was the competition director. At Spire, he is a something motorsports overseer, and I'm making things up here because I can't remember. But it broadens because he was there at St. Petersburg on the IndyCar side, and he is allowed to go in that same capacity out to Phoenix because, again, you got IndyCar and NASCAR running together. There again, of what is the exact role of competition director. If he talks to a NASCAR driver, is that violating that? We're getting kind of childish, in my opinion. But I say that, but I also understand Joe Gibbs' racing position. If he took trade secrets or things he shouldn't have, again, I don't know if right. Within that, again, and this goes across several, wrestling being another one, the no compete clause. Again, if you've served your time here and your contract is up or you choose to walk away, to prevent you from getting another job somewhere else, I don't fully, and I say fully, agree with that. I understand, again, if you're applying certain things that you shouldn't have had access to or knowledge, but again, all that is alleged and hearsay and whatnot.
Okay, I forget exactly. It is more of an overall, all the different series that they race in, including, the lower tier, like late model series and stuff like that. All Sports All Day says, I think it's more of he'll be in a more truck series role versus a Cup Series role, maybe. But yeah, they don't want him in any kind of position that it would allow him to use the information that he allegedly took from Joe Gibbs Racing.
And I think about, just look at crew chiefs. We saw Randall Burnett move from Junior Motorsports up to the Cup Series with Trackhouse Racing. Okay, he didn't necessarily take any trade secrets or confidential, but again, if he saw something or knows something, you're going to apply it. Yeah, it's a little bit different with a different organization and different manufacturer, whatever it be. So again, there you're talking Toyota to Chevy. I'm not on the inside, so I don't know what all these trade secrets or whatever they're confidential, whatever are set up.
Property.
There you go. All right. I don't know exactly what they are and how they would apply from one manufacturer to another. I get it. You're protective and all that, but I just, like I said, I don't want to see somebody's livelihood taken away either, just because they don't want to work at that. And Chris Gabehart claims that he was promised or told competition director meant he had authority over certain things, and he feels he wasn't being given that authority. That ties into Ty Gibbs of, you can dictate what to do, but not with him. And I can see where that would be. Yeah, I can see where that would be frustrating.
Yes, I can see where that would be frustrating as well. Yeah, we don't like the lawsuits. We're glad when they're over with, and we hope that this one comes to a conclusion. It sounds like this judge is trying to encourage that to happen, but we'll see what happens. You don't think so?
No, I think back to the NASCAR lawsuit with 2311. That judge said the same thing. Hey, this would be better if y'all worked it out amongst yourselves.
And that's what he's saying too. It'd be better if you guys can come up with an agreement here. But we'll see what happens with this. It's unfortunate that it's happening. I understand why it's happening. We'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. I did want to also mention there is a new docu-series or documentary series that's coming on Full Speed. It's been before, but it's going to be on Prime Video this week, March the 5th. you'll be able to watch that on Prime Video. So watch for that coming out this week as well.
Well, there you go, Sharon. I might watch it because I actually have Prime because I know there's 5 races on Prime.
So you'll be able to watch your 5 races this year. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to make sure we talked about?
No, I think that, again, organizations is the big thing I look at this early. We're talking about points and championship contenders. What I look at this point in the season is the momentum, or where not manufacturers, organizations kind of sit. And I see some really good things, as I mentioned, from Spire Motorsports, Colleague Racing, these teams that are on the verge. What we saw 2311 build into a now championship contender, seeing more of these organizations. I love Hendrick Motorsports, again, being a Jeff Gordon fan, but I also love to see competition. So I'm excited for what I'm seeing there.
Yes, indeed. And I think from what we saw this weekend, I think it is going to be highly competitive across the board. So we've seen the season start to define itself. We know that there's more different types of tracks that they're going to have to race at, but we're starting to see some definition form for the season. In the Truck Series, again, Layne Riggs didn't just win a race, he altered the conversation. Street courses are unpredictable, momentum isn't. And in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, Shane Van Gisbergen did what elite drivers do. He made the precision of racing look inevitable. And when the race tightened, he elevated. And I think about that last lap where he just came from 6th place to the front underneath everybody. Everybody went left and he went right, or whatever it was. And he made it look so easy, and that was not an easy move. Out west, ARCA delivered something every champion needs: a statement, calm under pressure, execution when it matters most. And then the Cup Series, Tyler Reddick didn't just win at Circuit of the Americas. He planted a flag 3 races in, and the tone already feels different. Here's what ties this all together. Momentum is real, execution travels, confidence compounds. Some drivers left this weekend with trophies, others left with more pressure. We talked about those drivers that are behind in points right now, and they've got a hole to dig out of. And in NASCAR, pressure is where championships are decided. And we've said that so many times, that a champion is somebody who perseveres when the chips are down. So we've got a chance to maybe see some of that happen in this season. We're just getting started. The storylines are really forming and the gaps are widening. So that means the intensity is building, and that's why we sound off. So
that is true.
On Hot Topic Sound Off, it gives us a lot to talk about and a lot to look forward to, I think. I think we're going to see some high competition across the board this season.
I do. I know it seems like now we're talking about Tyler Reddick having won all 3, but I look at some of the ones that have been right there with him. Good conversation is one of them is his teammate Bubba Wallace, minus the road course. But again, solid finish for him of 11th on a road course. And as All Sports All Day mentioned earlier, we get into Phoenix and then some of the 1.5 miles, the grind of this season. That's where you see who your championship contenders are. And as you were talking about it, I go back to Kevin Harvick was one, but recently Kyle Larson. When they were having a bad day, they'd bring the car and work on it and go back out, pick up positions, pick up points, test on something or whatever, of just grind it out.
That's why they get the big bucks.
Yeah. Not letting a bad day defeat them. They overcome it.
Yep. And that's part of why we like NASCAR is we like the underdog story when somebody overcomes and is able to, the Mason Massey story is great, I think. first race in ARCA Menards, and he comes home with a win. And I can't wait to see what else he does for the rest of the season. But I think there's going to be some strong competition. And in the ARCA West, I think it's not going to be just male competition. I think we're going to see some of the females really rise up in that series. And I think we're going to see some really good racing. We had Jade Avedizian on the pole for this race, which was fun to see. And she stayed up in the top 10 for most of the race. So kudos there. We saw a lot of really good things this weekend.
I do, and it just builds that excitement for the rest of the season as we get it underway.
It does indeed. Anything else you want to mention before we leave, Jay?
Well, I know you're getting ready to do your thank you bit here. I just did notice, though, in scrolling, I think we got 112 now subscribers. So like to see that. Speaking of building.
Yes, indeed. Do watch for more coming. Jay and I are going to be doing the previews for the upcoming racing at Phoenix this weekend. I believe ARCA West, as I mentioned, is racing on Thursday. And then it's just the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series racing at Phoenix this weekend. So 3 races from 3 different series, but all at the same track this weekend, which is kind of cool. I like it when that happens. Well,
technically it'll be 4 series because, again, that ARCA race is the ARCA West as well as the ARCA Main. And that's always a big one. Plus, they're on this stage in front of your top teams of the O'Reilly Auto Parts in the Cup Series. So that generally leads to some names getting brought forward.
Yes, indeed. So big races coming up this weekend. Again, that ARCA race is going to be Thursday night at 4:30, kind of earlier in the day. So for us here in the central area, that's 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 in our area, Jay. And it will be televised on Fox Sports 1. So we'll try to get that out to you as early as we can. And then we'll get the other ones out probably between Thursday and Friday. And then Race Chat Live is coming out on Wednesday night as well with the 3 amigos. We're talking Chris Crichton, Taz Taylor, and CJ Sports, all talking their hot topics on big storylines of the week. And we'll see what they have to say. And then on Friday, Taz and I will be doing the fantasy report for Phoenix. And then Jay and I will be back on Monday night, 8:15 p.m., to talk about our next hot topic sound-offs from Phoenix.
And there's maybe where we could start talking about championship contenders.
Well, yeah, because it's another different type of track. Short track this time, 1 mile short track. So
actually, I was going to say Phoenix falls in that category of its own. It's not a short track. It's not the intermediate. It's its own category. It's one of those other races.
Right. Technically, it's not a short track because it is a mile in length. But thanks to All Sports All Day for interacting with us. We always appreciate your insight, and when we have a question, you're really good at getting back to us with the answer. We really appreciate that, All Sports All Day. And like I told you before, I consider you a part of our Fan for Racing crew here at this point because you really are highly interactive with us on our Hot Topic Sound Off, and we do appreciate it.
We really do, and encourage other fans that are listening, whether it be live or if you watch the video after. Again, don't be afraid to comment. You see All Sports All Day. We don't always agree, whatnot, and that's okay. Sharon and I don't always agree. You talk about having differing opinions, CJ Sports, Taz, and Chris. I don't even know if they agree that they're on the same show sometimes.
Yeah, they get a little crazy sometimes, but they have a lot of fun, and that's part of what it's all about as well. But we're passionate sports fans just like you, and we just really enjoy following NASCAR and all the storylines that come up in NASCAR. So thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate each and every one of you, And we'll be back next week for another Hot Topic Sound Off conversation.
Oh, and we get to hear some music again?
Yes, we get. Oh, you want to hear that music again?
I like it.
Enjoy. We'll talk to you in the next video.